Hey there riders, MotoJourno Chris here today. The year is 2023 as you probably know, and I'm here with the Ninja 400, and the question is this bike outdated by 2023? It came out in 2018. I've had one most of the time since then. I think we got ours in 2019, and nothing has changed on this bike. But the real question is, did anything need to change over that 5-year period or so to really make it a competitive machine, or is the Ninja 400 still super competitive in its own right? Okay, so as a starting point, as you can see here, we've got the old 2-piston calipers on this. Now, really the braking system on the Ninja 400 is hard to complain about. It is not the most powerful, it doesn't have the most bite, but it is a seriously good system considering it's just this single brake disc here on the bike. It does the job exceptionally well. The other thing that we can mention on the front of the bike here is it does have the LED headlights. So in that regard, it's nice to see that they did keep that a fair bit more updated from the old 2018 mark. However, those indicators are not LED, and that does age the bike pretty significantly, I would say. Now, just taking a look at the engine back here, what you'll no doubt note is that it's the 400cc engine that really made such an impact in the Ninja 400 in the first place. And nothing has really changed there, but it is still, I would say, the most competitive of the 300 to 400cc engine options. It's the most powerful. It's a beautiful engine. There's very few faults with it, and overall, it's easy to see how the Ninja 400 did so well when we consider that it's powered by this particular power plant. And I would not complain about that. I think a lot of other competitors have some ground to make up as far as like the power output, the old the smoothness, just the general usability. Just ignore that kind of like seeping oil there, if you don't mind. Now, as dashes go, this does everything that I think you could ask of it. I think it is really an ideal dash. I like the old school / new school with the old tacho, and then obviously everything else is digital. It's got a gear indicator, it's got a fuel indicator. It's really a great dash, actually, if we're really honest. It just isn't a TFT, and a TFT is more of an expectation these days. It is what it is. Once someone else puts one on a bike, especially because KTM have got it on the RC390, which is similarly priced, it's a point of comparison. And if we zoom out, obviously, one of the other things that KTM does, and we can have a look over here, very, very simple switch blocks on this. Again, no problem there, but we don't get obviously any control of the dash there, and we don't have ride modes or traction control through the electronics package on the Ninja 400. Again, I don't expect it. I don't think that's really something that most new riders need at all. Even the traction control, I think just ABS, which this bike has, is more than enough. However, KTM have certainly picked up the level of competition in this segment in as far as what you get for your money, and what technology they've put on their smaller capacity bikes like the RC390. Okay, so when we talk about the Ninja 400, as you can see, there's the obvious points where it hasn't kept up, and probably the bigger other point, which would be an easier kind of change that really shouldn't have an impact on the bike's price, I would have thought, is that they could also change these forks to a set of USD forks, like something like what we're seeing on that new Ninja ZX 4R, which obviously is a much higher spec machine, but certainly when we look at the RC390, it's got the USD forks, the R3 has USD forks, it's much more the norm in the category, and I think that the suspension on the Ninja 400 is exceptional. I actually am really, really happy with this. I would say it's on par with my Svartpilen 401, which has the adjustable forks, and on paper is a much better system, but realistically speaking, the Ninja 400 does the job so well. I'd never really complain about those not being a USD fork. I think what is nice is when you're buying one of these and you're spending the money on it, you want the specs to kind of line up with all the competition. Now, when I bought my Daytona 675R, I bought the R over the standard because it had the Öhlins suspension, and that was a beautiful suspension system, but was it really better for road? I'm not sure, I really don't know, but I did love that bike. But you don't need to get sucked into feeling like you've got to buy kind of that step up, particularly when obviously, you know, it's not like you can buy the Ninja 400 in an R version, it's just what you get as it is. So overall, is the Ninja 400 lacking really in my mind in any way? certainly I would say the USD forks and the brakes not being kind of on paper as good as the competition. And I will say that the brakes, realistically in the real world conditions, they don't have quite the bite of the 4-pot calipers on some of the competition, but there's plenty of power, there's plenty of feel, and I feel like for a lot of new riders, the feel is more important than the outright power. Obviously, most of these bikes have ABS now, so there's less of a concern that a more powerful braking system is gonna basically mean that you lock up the brakes and crash the bike. However, you do need to keep in mind that it's not always just about having the most of something. Sometimes it's just about having enough and having it really controllable. And I also think that the very kind of basic fork that they've got in the Ninja 400 and the shock, they do a great job, really. At the end of the day, I find this a great thing to ride. So yeah, brakes, suspension, really good. TFT display, I don't really care about TFT displays. If there is one and it's kind of rolled into the price and the bike's still competitively priced, cool, but I probably wouldn't pay any extra for a TFT, and I don't really care about the smartphone connectivity. And certainly here in Australia, as a L plater or a P plater, so a beginner rider, you're not allowed to use any mobile phone functions on the run, so you actually can't really even use like the navigation through the dash if that's an option or anything like that. You can't sync the phone in at all. You cannot use any kind of function of a mobile phone. So to me, on a beginner bike, I mean, it's nice, but totally unnecessary. The traction control, again, a nice little safety feature. But then if we talk about like ride modes, totally unnecessary on a small capacity bike like this. Like, why would you need different throttle response or different power delivery or anything like that? You just don't need it on a 400cc bike. There's literally no reason to really have ride modes. However, the traction control, that's kind of a nice little boon that if it saves you one crash, it's paid for itself. However, again, I probably wouldn't pay any extra for it. The only thing I would really insist on as a beginner rider is ABS. You should have ABS just because, again, it saves you once and it's much more likely to save you from, your own ineptitude. It's gonna be worth it. And certainly working to the Ninja's benefit is obviously being a Kawasaki, the reliability is really good. And I would also say the build quality is really good. So those are kind of some more hidden factors that not all manufacturers are quite so renowned for, like the build quality, for price point, and also the reliability side of things. So you need to keep that in mind and think about that as a rider when you're considering what you're buying, especially if, like here in Australia, you need to be on your L's and P's for most people for 3 years. You're gonna have the bike for a while, and so certainly that is a big aspect of things. So I guess my end point is the Ninja 400 outdated? Technically speaking, we can say, yes, there are some features that would be nice to see on the bike, and it's only a couple of the competition, mainly the realistically speaking, it's mainly the KTMs which have those missing features from this bike, although the TFT displays are becoming more common. But I would still happily fork out for one of these if I was comparing it to some of the other machines available today. In my mind, probably the forerunners, obviously in this kind of class of bike, is you've got the Ninja 400, you've got the R3, you've got the RC390, and then kind of the outside choice is that new CF Moto 450 SR, which I think that, as far as like value and what it offers, that's looking pretty darn competitive. So that'll be an interesting one to look into. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. What do you think about the Ninja 400? Should they have updated it? Let me know in the comments. As always, stay safe out there, and thanks for watching.